It's pretty interesting.
All right. Good evening, everybody. Thank you for coming this evening. As we do start every talk and trade, I would like to, as Luke sets up my microphone. Awesome. Okay, good. Firstly, I'd like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land on which we are gathered, the Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nation, and I pay my respects to the elders, past, present, and future. It's one place that they are the custodians here, and I think it's very interesting because this is our last night of talk and trade here at 85 City Road, and I thank you all for coming here this evening and really supporting us in the last 8-9 months that this centre has been open, but we will be moving places to Stone and Chalk. So it shuts off tonight, we'll be closed for 2 days, and then we'll open up again on the 3rd of September at Stone and Chalk. So for all of you here, thank you for coming. There are more people coming in tonight because we've got 3 different events here. So we're starting off with Talk and Trade here, where we're all going to be talking about what's happening in crypto and blockchain world, and then we'll have Katrina Donaghy from Civic Ledger here to have a quick chat to talk about women and blockchain, and then we'll finish it off with our goodbye, farewell, 85 City Road. It is sad, I came here around just before it opened, probably October last year, and there was nothing here. There was no walls, no lights, no data projectors, no chairs.
And no community.
Oh, the community's been around for a while. There were quite a few people there, probably about 30 people here drinking. Martin invited me here, and the ex-CEO, and he said, "John, we're launching here, please come." And I went in here and there was nothing. It was really gutted, it was just an open space, there was no breaks. Obviously the bank vault was there because this was an ex-bank, which is quite fitting for what we're doing here with cryptos and digital currency, where fiat money was kept over there. But now we've continued building the community, massive community that's coming, and we're all supporting each other. There's walls here, there's so many banners. As Karen and I always say, there's such a banner fest over here. It's not going to be a banner fest where we are before it. Look, we're not closing. I'm getting a little emotional here, but we're not closing the centre. We are continuing the centre. We are going to keep continuing the great work that we're doing, supporting the startups, incubating the startups, delivering events, delivering education, and the co-working is going to be by a different place, but we will still be there to support. So we do have the startup network, so if you are a startup, you want to be having a hot desk there, please come join us or talk to us at the end. I see at the moment there are 3 people here with Blockchain Centre t-shirts. There are other people that support us and bought the t-shirt, but Karen, Luke and myself are here so to ask any questions at the end. So let me go through this, and as I said, we are a not-for-profit that opened up in 2014 and building the community from there, but this physical centre opened up in November last year. So our mission is to accelerate the global adoption of blockchain, and you're all part of that by being here and coming to meetups and going to our socials and just supporting us. You're helping us, make it all widespread and getting it to the wider public and getting people embracing it. So thank you for doing that. So the Blockchain Centre, we're education, incubation, and community events. That's our pillars of focus. We have our weekly talk and trade. As I said, this is the last one here at the centre. We will be continuing them every Wednesday, except for next week. We're taking a break just for us to resettle at Stone and Chalk. So we will go back on the 12th of September at Stone and Chalk, 710 Collins Street at 6 p.m. So nothing's changed, just the venue. We'll still be there. You'll still see our smiling faces. Crypto Mondays, we'll still have Bitcoin 101, Ethereum, Monero, Introduction to Trading, and also Mining. Education, Introduction to Blockchain, Cryptocurrency, Investing ICOs. I see a couple of people here who've been to the Introduction to Blockchain, so if anybody's interested in doing that next month, let me know and I'll put you in contact with some of the people here that have done that. We had one last Friday. So after tonight, I said we have Women in Blockchain, Goodbye City Road, 85, so Katrina Donaghy will be talking about talk and trade. This week has been a massive week so far of events. Today was the Blockchain APAC Enterprise Summit. There was so many events and so many different amazing speakers that were there. It's going to be our turn tomorrow. So for the Digital Innovation at Curate space for the festival, we're delivering 4 events. So morning, lunch, afternoon, and the evening. So the first one's going to be at 10 from 11:30. So we've got these startups pitching, except for Blockchain. They're too busy now, but the final spot there has been taken by Wiyumi from Harrison over there at the back. But so please come, hear them. There's some new ones there. If you haven't seen and heard any of that, please do come and support the startups there. On the 30th of August, it is tomorrow, 12:30 to 2, we've got blockchain ecosystem, just talking about who are the key players in the blockchain ecosystem. So we've got Karen and Akasha talking about the micro and macro level, who are the key players internationally, and who are the people that support the local communities here and create the communities in a local level. Alistair from RMIT is going to talk about the role of research and education in the ecosystem, and we've got a special guest, Monique Bachner from the Luxembourg Blockchain Association. So she's going to talk about the European ecosystem, and she's done a lot of work with the EU there. She's a lawyer, so if you want to hear more, please do come. All these 4 events are only $5, by the way, and there's tea and coffee and snacks that's available there. Then we'll go to a deep dive with Blockchain Disrupts Industries. We've got Rita from Microsoft. She's the Chief Digital Advisor. She's also bringing somebody now that I haven't released yet, but she's bringing the Chief Blockchain Developer for Microsoft tomorrow. So if you want to ask any questions, especially with Azure, or anything to do with Microsoft, please come to the event. John's going to talk about legal, Kieran's role of education, and Jack's going to talk about blockchain, supply chain. Then in the evening, we've got Rosa, Jamie, Chris, and Anok talking about blockchain for impact, how society is going to change, or how blockchain and its technologies are going to help with societies, the underdeveloped countries, the people who need voices, and the marginalized, and the needy. So hopefully we can get some things out there to help out society. Jamie's ex-Horizon State. Chris is the Blockchain Philanthropy Foundation, so she can talk about bringing together the corporates plus those doing such massive impact in social innovation. And Anok, for those who don't know, Anok is our local evangelist, enthusiast guru here at the Blockchain Center, and he's working on this space as well for social impact. And on Monday, we've got Smart City, Blockchain City. So Boyd Cohen is ex-Smart City Barcelona. He's here for a couple of days, and he's doing a keynote to talk about what his work is in creating the Blockchain Cities Alliance, IMOB, a lot of IoT and mobility, and we're going to talk about how blockchain is helping to create smarter cities and it's enhancing urban living. Rita's back again, and so is Jamie, and we also have Ellie Renner from the RMIT Blockchain Innovation Hub. She's doing a lot of work on urban living and how technology is helping with that. We do incubation here, some of the startups that you've seen from the other slide who's pitching, but we've also got the incubator program, the Block Engine. VIP program, $50 per year. That includes $50 towards your next workshop. And follow us on social media. So if you want to be updated, because the transition might be a little bit difficult from when we're here, we are closed for the next couple of days, please keep onto our socials, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and we'll keep you updated on what's happening there. We also have a newsletter that will probably come out early on Monday. So make sure, if you haven't put your name down into the iPad at the front to get our newsletters, please do, and we'll keep you updated on that. Now, as I said tonight, it is our last night, but we've had a special company come to us who is sponsoring drinks this evening, and they've got some special things to talk about later. But so before that, we've got Blockchain Global, Digital X, IBM, Hobby Australia is our corporate sponsor. As we are a not-for-profit, we need these supports to help us go through it. But tonight's drinks that's out there, if you guys haven't grabbed a drink, please do. We don't mind you standing up and just going down there. We've got the lovely gentleman over there who's presenting some of the drinks. So just really quickly, she will be back again to present something special of what they're doing in the startup incubation space. But just to say thank you for giving us drinks this evening. Let me just call up Kirsten from Culture United Breweries. Alright, so let's get to talking and trading. If you guys haven't done Slido before, please go on there. It's TT29AUG. Put your questions in there. But let me bring up another, I think we had it last week, which is the first time moderator. So let me bring up another first time moderator to go through and help us talk and trade and talk everything crypto and blockchain. So as a first time, please join me and a big round of applause for Miss Steph.
I've been coming to the Blockchain Center since about November last year. So we've been doing talk and trade every Wednesday, and usually what we do is we'll pick like 4 or 5 questions from Slido and do about 15 minutes each. But what we like to do is find the new people that come to the Blockchain Center and get a question from anyone who's new. So who's new here tonight? Put your hands up. 2 people? I see a lot of new people here. If anyone has a question and they're new here to the center, would you like to have the question answered? No? Oh, alright. So I guess we'll go to Slido. So the first one is Bitcoin Cash and the Cobra. So I'm guessing this is the hard fork that's coming up. Would anyone like to talk about that tonight?
Harrison would.
Not my question.
Are you sure?
Not your question. If anyone in the crowd wants to pipe up, put your hand up and we'll get you a microphone.
You know, just hand over microphones around to anyone else. So essentially, Bitcoin Cash is having an interesting time period at the moment. Where we're deciding the future of the protocol, and it's really going in 2 major directions. There's one called Bitcoin Cash SV, or Satoshi's Vision, which is a client that plans to sort of lock down the protocol while increasing the block size to 128 megabytes. And then there's another school of thought that wants to bring in something called canonical transaction ordering, which helps to order the transaction slightly differently, but it does break consensus, and they're not quite considering raising the block size to 128 megabytes yet from its current position at 32 megabytes. There is another small player in the ecosystem, and that is Cobra Bitcoins. So who here's heard of Cobra Bitcoin? That's not too many. Cobra Bitcoin is a pseudonymous figure in the Bitcoin space who is currently in control of the bitcoin.org domain. So that's why he is a little bit of an influence holder in the ecosystem. And this crafty guy is trying to get his client established called Bitcoin Cobra. And essentially Bitcoin Cobra is the ABC client with no modifications, and he's calling it user activated no fork. As a play on words to user-activated soft fork. So essentially it's a protocol that maintains the current status quo in Bitcoin Cash instead of moving to the new ABC client or Bitcoin ABC client or to the Satoshi's Vision client. What this one's doing is remaining exactly the way it is for Bitcoin Cash, and he's trying to get a bit of support base out of this. So that's what Cobra's doing in Bitcoin Cash.
Which one do you support, Harrison?
Pardon?
Which one do you support?
I don't currently have a position yet. I'm still researching the sphere to decide the best point of the best way for the protocol to move forward. I do, in principle, agree with raising to 128 megabytes, and I do, in principle, agree with waiting before introducing canonical transaction ordering. So if I were to take a pick right now, I would probably pick Bitcoin SV. But I'll be waiting to see how the ecosystem plays out on that, given that SV still has to release the protocol, has to test the protocol, has to gain mining support and exchange support and wallet support and all the other support for the protocol. So in theory and in practice are 2 different things on this issue. What we can do is we can wait and see how the hash power falls. And I'm sure that there will be some rational debate had between the 2 parties to try and form a consensus solution, because that's what this is all about, essentially.
So on September 1,
It's they're doing a test out of the ABC client, and then November 1st is when the actual hard fork date will be kicking in. So November 1st, if it's not resolved by then, it's on for young and old, and whoever has the most hash power wins.
September 1st, they're actually testing the 128 hash power, as I understand it. They're testing out the speed.
Not quite, you're close. You've got a good point there. The 1st of September is the Bitcoin Cash stress test. And on that day, there is a target of producing 5 million on-chain transactions in a single day on the Bitcoin Cash mainnet. So that's something that's happening in a couple of days. I think it's a great initiative, led in part by a person I'm pretty familiar with in the Bitcoin Cash meetup space. It's a very good initiative to prove the power of on-chain scalability and to set an example for all the other proof-of-work cryptocurrencies in the ecosystem. The big blocks do work, and that they can be used as a scaling vector. Pardon? Absolutely. I think that pretty much answers the questions. Anyone have any other questions? Go on.
You're still confident that there's not going to be a chain split?
I'm less confident than I was last week about there being no chain split. I sincerely hope they can work this out. I don't support a chain split. But if there is a chain split, that would be very bad for the Bitcoin Cash ecosystem. So I definitely don't support that. So in theory, I don't want a chain split. In practice, I think ABC will probably back down on some of the things that they're doing, some of the things they want to produce, but they haven't done so yet. So it's essentially a bit of a brinksmanship scenario where we'll see how things go in the next couple of weeks as it gets closer to November 1st. Because whoever's on the wrong side of this fork is probably not going to do too well.
I think at the moment,
Sorry, did you?
yeah, I
I
think at the moment there's a miners meeting going on in Thailand.
That's what I was referring to.
Yeah, that's, as I said, it's not set in stone yet if they're going to split or...
Absolutely. Yeah, so it's two different visions for the future of Bitcoin Cash, and it's up to the proof-of-work mining majority to determine which path we take, because the other players in the ecosystem will not last too long if their blocks get orphaned to death. So it's a time ticking scenario where the players in the ecosystem, both the developers, the users, the exchanges, the businesses, and the miners, all have to come to some form of consensus, and it might not be a clean consensus. There will be compromises on both sides, I'm sure. But if a compromise solution cannot be reached, there may be a chain split, and that may Satoshi have mercy on the souls of those holding the wrong fork. I tell you what.
Hey Harrison, this looks like the Ethereum REIT diluting trust in the whole project.
It is, you're exactly right. This is why the majority of the users don't support a fork, and we all almost universally support a consensus solution on this issue, because this issue does not require a new chain to split, because there is consensus on that there should be larger blocks. The question is now just how large should the blocks be, and it turns out it's hard to get people to agree on a number, which is why I support emergent consensus operated by Bitcoin Unlimited. I think Bitcoin Unlimited is the most reasonable voice in this issue. They're offering a consensus solution whereby their node will be compatible with both forks, and people will be able to choose which options they activate and deactivate in the course of the fork. I think that's the best way to go forward, whereby each of the features is implemented in software but not activated yet. And then we have miner activated voting to turn on the different features, especially canonical transaction ordering, which is quite controversial.
So are you talking about a whole new political way of deciding things before it gets to this point?
That's right.
Because that needs to happen in the whole industry.
Absolutely
So
right.
you're talking about a whole level of democracy or voting, or because it's not democracy, it's based on the power of the
It's
vote.
hash power voting, yes.
Okay, so we have basically wealthy owners of computation as the voters. So there are new oligarchs in the system. What does that mean? Like, that's not a community voting situation. So I want to escalate this up to the politics, because answering at a protocol level isn't what's really going on. There are people who own these systems who are fighting.
There are not only people who own this system, but there are two large companies in Bitcoin Cash that are in many ways competing for the benefit of their own patent portfolio. That's why I almost universally oppose the patenting process on this sort of technology. We can't have patents in the base layer because it causes this sort of perverse incentives in many cases whereby it's profitable to cripple the development of the base layer because you have patented second layer solutions that you can then conveniently come to rush to the rescue with. So that's why I support massive on-chain scaling. That's why I support, in practice and in theory, 128 megabyte blocks so that we can scale this to the rest of the world. The thing is, there are some software solutions that need to be developed before 128 megabyte blocks are practical in a software sense. And I think those should be made with the support of the miners and not before. Anyone have any other questions? I might walk off.
Well, we have a second. But we have a second question. You might want to take it on.
Oh, this is a classic question. This is a classic. We see this question quite a bit when people first get into Bitcoin and realize that yes, the block subsidy will one day end. So there are two approaches to supporting the network in terms of mining reward after the block subsidy period of time has ended. I remind you, in 140 years. But at that end point, there are two options. We either go for, it boils down to an RK strategy, whereas the K strategist will say we need a small amount of transactions that pay a high transaction fee. I prefer to go with the volume model of transaction fee so that everybody can use it. Of having a large volume of transactions, millions and millions of transactions that pay a small fee. So it's easier for the protocol to scale and for cryptocurrency to compete with established fiat currencies if the transaction fee is as small as possible, but we have a large amount of transactions. So that produces on-chain revenue for the miners, so they can earn a large volume of transaction fees while having the individual transaction fee be fairly low. So that's how we deal with supporting the network when the mining subsidy does end.
Answer the mayonnaise question.
The mayonnaise question?
I feel like this is a SpongeBob SquarePants joke that I may have seen before in too many memes. I think it needs to die. The meme is dead, guys. Please.
Thank you, Harris. So I guess we'll go on to the second question, which I'm just going to ignore the mayonnaise one. But we're going to do the market one, which is lots of green shoots appearing in the crypto market. What is the reason for it? Prediction on when Bitcoin will reach 10K. We do not offer financial advice here, but if anyone wants to do any Hail Mary predictions or any price points, you are welcome to come up and show us your stuff. Anyone? Anyone do TA?
I feel like Jonathan wants to do
Oh, you did TA.
I guess I have a little say. So the current green candles that we're seeing is purely from Bitcoin's movement. I think anyway, again, it's just speculation. So every time Bitcoin moves, so does the old market. Bitcoin moved because it hit a local low, and every time it hits a local low, it moves up, and we're seeing a little bit of a squeeze in the price. It'll keep going up and down in waves. I don't think there's anything else other than that, to be honest. But yeah. So 10K by tomorrow.
I actually do quite a little bit of TA at home. So I did a price point prediction for around the 12th of December, which was 11K if I remember correctly. I don't know. But that was on the 12th of December. So who knows where it is going to go between now and then. But yeah, not financial advice, just fun predictions. Does anyone have any predictions of where we're going to hit before Christmas? No? Where do you want it to be before Christmas? Do you want it to go up or down? Who's short in Bitcoin here? The one, the two people?
Yeah, 25 times leverage.
25 times leverage. Okay, good, awesome. Good luck with that. And next question. Is there any possibility that the 21 million Bitcoin level can be increased? Example, 51% control of nodes or node virus. Does anyone want to answer this question or contribute to it?
If it happens, Bitcoin's worth nothing because the whole model's broken, so what's the point?
So if it happens, Bitcoin's worth nothing.
Money to have 51% control, like medical, Scott, Irish, electricity.
Oh, I heard Antonopoulos said they're not going to increase the number of Bitcoin, but what they will do is increase the number of Satoshi. So instead of 8 decimal points, now it'll go to 10 decimal points.
Does anyone else have anything to add to this?
That's a very different thing. They're not. Those concepts are very different things. One increases resolution, which is changing the SAT level, which effectively means you can spend 1 Bitcoin and use it for smaller fractions. But to actually increase the 21 million, they loop to your pool of 8. So if you hold 1 Bitcoin and they add the number of decimal points afterwards, nothing changes. You still hold 1 Bitcoin, it's just got more decimal points afterwards. But if you hold 1 Bitcoin and the total capacity of the network goes from 21 to 22, your wealth percentage of the total pool changes. So they're very different things. The 21 million will never change on Bitcoin. It would be too much of a psychological blow to the trust of the network and the miners fighting for what it originally stood for.
Some more financial advice that we don't give out. Should we buy into crypto right now?
Always.
Oh, financial advice though. Does anyone have any information on this Horizon State question? Why would Jamie Skeller leave Horizon State before delivering on his promise? Is it a synchronicity? Anyone? Know anything about that? Interesting?
I think he's talking tomorrow.
He's talking tomorrow?
Yeah. Blockchain for Impact.
At Blockchain for Impact.
6 p.m. Something Innovation Festival.
6 p.m. Innovation Festival, something.
So I heard that he left because he wants to take care of his children.
He left because he wants to take care of
Yeah, should we let the cars?
That's a reward.
Yeah. So
This was the decision. And I think and I'm just expressing an opinion, but at the time he embarked on the journey, while you assume you know the complexity, whatever step, the complexity and scope of what he at times to do increases, the hours and the time he spent on the business and the reward, I do think that's a valid reason rather than the company being a sinking ship. As the time will tell.
So you're saying he bit off more than he could chew and now he's left the project?
I think all of us bite more than we can chew in this space at this point in time. So that's fair for him, but myself and each of you. So yes, but stepping aside to take time to sleep and take care of your, 0-year-old, that's also valid life reasons.
Okay, that's pretty much wrapped up, I think. So, didn't we talk about ETF last week? But we want to talk about it. Does anyone want to talk about it again tonight? That wasn't here last week. You do? You want to hear about it or you want to talk about it?
I guess I have a sentiment on it. So
You have a sentiment on it?
Yeah.
I like it.
I think ETF is probably bad for Bitcoin from where the industry started, but it also has its good points. The good points would be that you can have institutional investors on board quite quickly, but I think it goes against the ethos of what the industry first started off as. Institutional investors will take over the industry and put it in the way that they want to go. I guess as me, I don't really have a say in the matter.
Anyone else?
Do you think it's inevitable?
So ETFs are inevitable.
Right now, it's probably not going to happen, but in a 10-year, 20-year mark, yeah, probably it will happen. The more and more it becomes safe in the eyes of institutional investors, the more chance it will start happening.
That's fair enough. Does anyone up the back there?
Just maybe an extension to that, maybe on the ETF being a good thing or a bad thing, people can make their own minds. Would be a comparison to gold, and that's a few things that I've seen on the media. So whatever it's worth.
I think I would disagree with that. Gold needs something like an ETF to actually be traded efficiently. You can't send gold to someone on the other side of the world today. Bitcoin doesn't need that. There's no reason why I can't send $2 million worth of Bitcoin to Europe right now. That transaction goes through, so I don't think an ETF is really needed.
I agree with what you've said, but the thing with the ETF is that it treats it like a commodity, which is what it is, and so that could be a clue on it in the future, and potentially. As we've seen with gold, could be a problem as far as manipulation of Bitcoin is concerned. That could be life. What can you do?
Hello.
Hi, Alejandro. Yes.
Yes.
Who are you?
I'm Satoshi.
You are Satoshi.
I think the ETFs pose another really interesting philosophical question. Are they good? What are your standards? They would probably be really good to pump up the price. Bitcoin becomes really attractive and really good for the banks. Are they good for the people that started supporting Bitcoin and have supported for the last 10 years? Probably not. What do people that are very cynical and very deep in the community say? Fuck it, let the banks buy it for $100,000 and then move on to another chain, a new chain, a decentralized chain, and then we'll ride the wave again. Like, if you want to have a truly decentralized technology, you can buy it out, but we can create another one. So buy Bitcoin now, sell at 100, and I'll see you at the next one.
That's a good pitch. Just want to add one thing. It's like, what's our ability to influence the outcome either way? It's probably going to happen or not happen. Most likely happen. But look at what we've got right now. We've got like naked shorts, naked longs. People betting on the future price of Bitcoin without needing to hold the underlying asset. Most of the ETFs that will come will require those funds to hold the underlying asset. So, we're going to have a whole bunch of, Bitcoin tied up in these funds, which means they're out of circulation. Obviously, those funds can arb them, which is obviously the whole point of ETFs. But so personally, I think I'm comfortable with it. I mean, the idea of Bitcoin is that you shouldn't really control who wants to buy, sell, trade, dispose of Bitcoin. So if an organization, a company, a bank, a country, a treasury wants to buy a whole bunch of Bitcoin and do something with it, well, that's the life of Bitcoin, right?
Yeah.
Leave it up to Wall Street and we'll all be humming,
I agree with you. I just think that people overemphasize how special and unique Bitcoin is. Tonight we're farewelling this lovely venue because a massive skyscraper is going to be built here. If you look at real estate and land in amazing cities, it is limited. There is a very real and unique price tag to it. If you want to live in Melbourne CBD, you will have to buy an apartment in this new lovely building for a few millions. But if you want to buy Bitcoin, if the banks own it and people are suddenly dissatisfied by the price of it, by how accessible it is, by how easy it is to manipulate it, you can just create a new one. So yeah, buy now, wait until 100, sell later.
Does anyone else want to talk about ETFs?
Answer the mayonnaise question.
Answer the mayonnaise question. How about you answer the mayonnaise question?
Get up there. Will you introduce yourself? Where are you from?
My name is Satoshi Nakamoto, and I'm from Eltham. Surprise?
I am surprised.
Yeah.
Please answer the mayonnaise question for the audience.
I actually wanted to know who put the mayonnaise question up.
Who did put it up? But it definitely wasn't me.
I can't see the mayonnaise.
I was just curious about the mayonnaise.
It's the very top one.
Is mayonnaise an instrument?
It's very cryptocurrency.
These tech nerds, they'll name anything with anything these days.
Is that the answer?
That's it.
Alright!
Alright, that's my answer. Thank you.
So should
Are we still talking about me? No?
Huh? So, which question would we like to talk about? Do we want to talk about decentralized social media platforms? I know there's a couple of people here. They not know, I think.
Okay, well, I'm loving Minds at the moment. So, Minds, yeah, that's my favourite little thing going on at the moment. Yeah, well, and I was just about to buy some tokens on Minds, and then they did an ICO. So I got no idea how the ICO went. But look, I like the platform. It's good. It works well. I've got my band's website up on there, and you know, put some videos up.
Can you tell us about what Minds actually is? And what
Yeah, sorry. It's a bit like Twitter versus or Facebook, but you get paid in tokens for, it's a bit like Steam. You get paid in tokens if your content is engaging. And then you can use those tokens to promote your content. So if you have one token, you can promote it to 1,000 impressions or whatever. So there's a sort of intrinsic value of the token. And it's being used, there's a lot of sort of cryptocurrency type people on there at the moment, because of the cryptocurrency thing. So probably a great place to pimp your ICO. I think it's a well put together thing. You know? I like it. I mean, there's actually quite. They've got a lot. Well, look, and it's very timely right now because you've got Mind, you've got Gad, who I think they've done an ICO as well. But you've got this alternative opportunity to actually communicate that isn't censored, like Twitter and Facebook and Google now are all doing a lot of shadow banning and different ways of manipulating and making it so it's harder to get your words out. So I'm all about free speech, and I think it's quite good, and it's actually quite good implementation as well. So it's mine.
I've got a little question about Minds. Does it run on an Ethereum token?
Yes.
Yeah. So when you, how does the platform calculate how much rewards to send to a post when it gets uploaded?
So you said how does it calculate how many rewards to send to a post when it gets uploaded?
Where do those rewards come from?
Yeah, so it works internally. It has a formula on the website, and it's based on that. And they do reserve the right to change the formula as people try to gain it. And then you have an address, and then you can send that and export that out into the market if you want as well. So yeah, you have a wallet. If you set up the account, you actually have a wallet.
And when people make upvotes, are they recorded on chain or are they centralized and sort of counted by the Minds team?
I don't know.
You're not sure? Okay.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Sorry.
You shouldn't be able to.
Have you heard Paul's Bitcoin song?
Yes, put it on.
I hope you've all heard it. I don't remember. Hey girl, I've seen you around. I know we should be together. Just give me some time and I'll show you. I'm Bitcoin!
And then it goes on from there. I'm not going to do the whole sharing and bowl. Bitcoin, more honest than gold. There we go.
All right, and there's a saxophone solo.
There is a sax. Obviously.
Alright, there's quite a few questions here. Is there anything that anyone wants to answer while I'm scrolling? There's decentralized exchanges, which we have covered in the past, copious amounts of time. Does anyone want to talk about their favorite cryptocurrency wallet? I'm assuming on the phone or on the PC?
Yeah, let's go around the room and ask some people. I'm just going to go walk around the room and just go, like, right next to me here is somebody. What's your name?
Martin.
Martin, hello.
Hello.
What's your favorite wallet?
Airbits, but it's not called Airbits anymore, but I haven't upgraded it yet, but it's called Edge now, but Airbits. Paul Quay in California, great guy. Airbits.
Alright, there's a promo for Airbits. Let's walk over here.
Hand cash.
What's your favorite?
Hand cash.
Why?
Bitcoin cash.
Ah, there you go. Alright. Okay, I'm just walking around the room. This one, what's your name?
Karen.
Karen, do you have another name?
Lockman.
Alright. Blockmum, do you have a favorite wallet?
Wallet? Of course it's a CoinStop wallet.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, well, there you go. These are all from the past, sorry. Over here, another member that's been in around. What's your name?
Alex.
Alex, what's your favorite wallet?
I only use cold wallets, sorry. Coins up if you want to buy one.
There you go. Alright. Maybe let's go to the other side of the room. Ah, let me just stop here. What's your favorite wallet?
Bitcoin or ETH?
Whatever.
S&T wallet. It's pretty feature rich. It's got a chat function. It has ecoin tokens. Great user experience. I love it. I'm in love with it.
Sorry, what was that?
I don't know. Sorry, what's the question over there? SNT, Sierra November Tango.
There you go, SNT. Person over here, what's your name?
Chris.
What's your favorite wallet?
I only use the Loki wallet.
Honestly, I'm not picking people here who's just promoting it. Just trying to go out. Let me go over here. What's your name? Rosa, do you have a favorite wallet? MetaMask? Why? Really, I'm just picking them all. Yeah? Okay.
Okay, Mim wallet.
Alright. My favorite wallet is the one that's in my pocket at the moment. Alright, I think I've finished that round there. Maybe one more question?
Yeah, one more question. Should we talk about the Tether printing impact on BTC price? We haven't talked about Tether in like a month or two, I'm pretty sure.
It's been a while, but some were printed today actually.
So, like some got printed today?
Some got printed very recently.
Ah.
How much?
How much got printed?
200 million or something?
50 million.
50 million Tether got printed today.
It was either today or yesterday.
And that was in response to the Bitcoin increase or possibly? Fair enough. What, so it got printed and then Bitcoin went up? Well then, is it a conspiracy theory to think that it's linked to the increase in Bitcoin?
It's not a conspiracy theory, it's pretty much been proven.
It's pretty much been proven.
If you go to Bitcoin market cap and you look at exchanges by volume,
Can I get your mic so you can talk into it?
I'm not saying it's a conspiracy theory, but if you go to CoinMarketCap, all the coins are ordered by volume. So if you go into exchanges, you can see which exchanges around the world have the largest volume and what area they're trading. Exchanges like Binance, other dubious exchanges with unknown ownership, they've got the largest volume of Bitcoin by far. They've got hundreds of millions a day, and all of it is USDT. If you look at USDT Tether, when you sign up, I've actually registered. The terms and conditions literally say we don't owe you anything, we don't even know who you are, we don't really care. These tokens are funny online, magic money, remember those days years ago? So there's no accountability. I think auditing firms have actually walked away from Tether because they don't want to touch those books. No one wants to attach a name to a professional services firm. It's what they do. American exchanges have actually blocked money transfers from those banks. Like, there's just too many things combined to think it's not toxic. And when you look at the daily volumes, it's like, well, if everyday users like ourselves with some, rational analysis are steering away from it, and the volumes are only increasing and with 50 million a day, you do wonder. And just as a final thought, because I might not be the microphone again. I've seen what happened to Harrison. One of the reasons why the ETFs got rejected was unknown forces are manipulating the Bitcoin market. No ETFs will ever get approved until the regulators can actually ascertain who is manipulating the price. It's not a matter of if, but it's a matter of who.
We have ETFs.
Right now we are seeing some of the largest correlation between Bitcoin and alts that we've seen. So if you're trading cryptocurrencies, the most logical place, if you want to exit the market right now, because we are in a bear run, is to go to Tether. It's not to go to another cryptocurrency. You don't want to go to Ethereum, because if Bitcoin goes down, Ethereum goes down. You don't want to go to your other alt, because when Bitcoin goes down, your other alts go down. So right now in the market, the most logical play, if you're scared of Bitcoin's price, if you want to hedge, is go to Tether. So the reason we're seeing Tether being so popular is because it's not decreasing in value. So,
yeah. What about it hasn't blown up yet?
Sure, like you can make complete arguments about Tether being a scam, Tether being hot air, whatever you want. But the point that we're seeing lots of Tether being traded into Bitcoin right now has nothing to do with whether you believe in Tether or not. It's to do with the fact that the correlation is so high, people are getting scared and pulling their money out, and they feel Tether is safer than any other cryptocurrency.
But isn't it more scary to pull out into an actual fake money? Because at least Bitcoin, I can get real.
But that's a different argument to what you just made. Completely. Tether, I'm happy to say Tether is hot air.
Give you real money. AUD, USD, Euro, fucking Bolivares if you want.
Not every exchange, a lot of exchanges won't.
Tether, good luck.
And you pay more fees.
I mean, if you've got real holdings, the fees are not an issue. You want to have real money in your hand because you're scared about the price movements? I'm sorry, but Tether's not an option anymore. There's a whole bunch of anchors and tethers and, properly registered security tokens like...
I don't disagree, but you're not talking about educated and people that are in the scene every single day. You're talking about the average investor. The average investor sees Tether as stable, they pull their money out, they wait a few weeks, they put it back in.
Yep, I've seen this with my friends who moved to Tether because they're scared of the price. Just how it is. But yeah, I think we're going to wrap that up.
Alright, I think we're going to wrap up Talking Trades. The last time here at everybody, please join me. Round of applause. Steph! Alright, so the last few weeks we've had first-time moderators. So if you want to moderate, if you want to be in this lineup of just facilitating Talking Trade, please come to us at the end here. But now, as I said, there's a special announcement from our sponsor of the drinks this evening. So please join me in welcoming the drink sponsors. If you haven't got a drink, please go over there. There's many seats over there here. But sorry. All right. Okay, we're just doing. All right, we're getting a 30-second pitch from one of our global strategic sponsors here, Adrian from Hobby.
Thanks, everybody. Congratulations to Blockchain Centre on the move, etc. So wishing you all the best, and as a major sponsor, we look forward to continuing that partnership. I've probably got 20 seconds left now. We're looking to list on our exchange. And for those that don't know, Orbi is one of the biggest 3 exchanges in the world. We've recently launched in Australia with 10 Aussie dollar to coin listings. We're looking to list a wide range of coin-to-coin listings coming up in the next month or two. But just what I want to talk about tonight is we're looking to list some Australian coins and make Australian dollar to Australian project coin listings. So what I'd like people to do, we want to encourage the local ecosystem, etc. What I'd like you to do is go on to Telegram. There's various socials that you can get onto, but Telegram, Hobby Australia on Telegram, and make some noise about your token, your project. Tell us which ones that you'd like us to support, and then we'll take that information and overlay that with a more formal due diligence project, a more formal due diligence process, and then we'll select some coins to list. So get on Telegram, make some noise, and thanks everybody for your time.
Thank you, Adrian. All right, again, thank you so much, and as I said, make some noise and put all your favorites out there, or your favorite. All right, let me welcome Kirsten again.
Hi everyone. So I'm Kirsten, I'm the Sustainability Manager. Just to kind of give you a quick background, you're probably going, hey, what's a 100 Plus Accelerator Program and what's AB InBev? So CUB is part of the AB InBev portfolio. We operate in over it's probably more like 450 now because I haven't updated this most recently. But to kind of pick on why I'm here today is earlier this year we launched 4 global sustainability goals. We all have them now. Last 10 years, and we've made some quite good progress, but we've identified that really we need to focus more on just 4 key goals where we can have impact as a brewery, and those are identified here. So water stewardship, working in high-risk areas to improve water quality and watersheds. So think of the likes of India, who face a lot of water issues. Secondly, 100% of our direct farmers, well-skilled, connected and financially empowered. We are one of the biggest buyers of barley in the world, so where can we make an impact there? And then thirdly, we've got climate action. So, you know, brewing beer does produce carbon emissions. Where can we look in our own operations to reduce that? And then also looking to purchase 100% renewable energy across all of our sites by 2025. And then finally, circular packaging. So this one, you know, we sell beer in bottles, cases, kegs. We're aiming for 100% of our packaged beer to pretty much be returnable packaging or mostly recycled by 2025. So quite ambitious. You can see the 100 plus up above, and why we have that 100 plus is we're a company, we know that we want to be around for the next 100 plus years. So that's why we've identified these goals as things that we really need to work on globally, not just as our own business, but also outside our own walls. And they're quite ambitious. Like we know we can't achieve these on our own, so that's why we've launched an accelerator program to help with our global sustainability program. So looking to reach outside of our own walls, working with researchers, scientists, startups, going far and wide to really see whether we can achieve those 4 global goals, and we're pretty confident we can. And as part of that, we've looked at 10 challenges that all link to those 4 goals, where we're reaching out externally to try and, you know, find solutions. So that's why I'm here tonight. I know a lot of you work in, you know, with blockchain, but also there's quite a few challenges that I think that you can help contribute to. I won't go through every single one of these, but I'll hopefully be able to share this presentation afterwards. If you're after more information, please feel free to reach out to me directly, or there's also a website where you can apply. Firstly, I'll just quickly touch on each of these. There's one's linked to water, agriculture, closing the loop on packaging. There's future of brewing, carbon emission reductions, and also safer and greener logistics. Obviously, we transport beer all over the world, so where are there is place to make it safer and also reduce our carbon emissions. we produce a fair bit of waste with all of our brewing operations. How can we turn that into more nutritional outputs or have zero waste there? And then finally, we have over 180,000 employees worldwide, so how can we leverage that reach to be able to really drive forward the sustainability agenda? Why participate? I won't go through all of that, but you can probably pretty much read it. We've got quite good access. This is a global program, so if you are successful in your application, there's a lot on offer. We're not necessarily looking to buy equity in your business or own the IP, but looking to partner with a lot of startups and entrepreneurs. And then, yeah, just on that bit, do we take equity? As I said, we're not necessarily looking for equity. We'll invest over 100K. And also so the applications are coming up really quick, thus why it was a bit of a last minute addition today. Closes on the 14th of September. You can enter via the website where they will provide a lot more detail than what I've just gone through right now on each of the challenges and what we're looking for, particularly across each of those challenges and what we're trying to address. And the accelerator kicks off on the 15th of October. There's a wide range of micro pilots that we'll do in Australia and also over in the States. So it's you can either be addressing a local challenge or a global challenge as part of your application. So yeah, if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me via LinkedIn or via my email, or even alternatively via the website. And yeah, thank you for listening and hope you enjoyed the beers tonight.
Thank you, Kirsten. Thank you. Should be around for a little bit, so if you want to ask any questions to Kirsten, please do. Also, if you didn't, please let us know. Talk to Karen or myself, and we can give you all the details and tell you where to participate. Is our Women in Blockchain chat this evening. This is our last. People are coming in, and yeah, we thank you all for the support you're giving. So for one last time, we are going to do 90-second pitches after this chat. Fantastic projects that you know of, please let me know or Karen know, and we'll do 90 seconds and I'll follow this up after that. But for now, to talk about some amazing work that they are doing with Civic Ledger and our GM Karen, who will be interviewing her, please join me. Before we do that, there are many seats over here, so if you do want to see, please take it. But let's welcome Katrina Donaghy.
Wow, what a crowd tonight. Amazing. Thank you everyone for coming. As John said, we are happy, sad. We've had a lot of really good memories in this place. And yeah, we're a bit sad, but we're going to celebrate tonight. ValueX are coming in. They're going to bring us some music. There's beer from CUB, our sponsor. Thank you very much, CUB. Hope you apply for that amazing opportunity to join their accelerator. What an opportunity for startups to join someone as fantastic as CUB. So just an introduction to Women in Blockchain. Rosa, where are you? Over there. A couple of months ago I approached Rosa about joining forces about Women in Blockchain, and Katrina here has been an absolute legend in Brisbane, bringing Women in Blockchain together. I sort of picked up a little bit a couple of months ago, went to the hobby launch and proudly said that every project should have a woman on their advisory panel. Didn't realise quite what I was saying then and how much support I was going to get from the industry, and since then I've been asked to be on at least 3 projects. So I love starting this amazing movement with Katrina, and really want to thank her for letting us support. So without further ado, Katrina. So tell us, Katrina, a little bit about your role at Civic Ledger.
This is a bit unusual for me because I'm always the one doing interviewing. My role is I'm a co-founder and co-CEO of a blockchain company called Civic Ledger. So we started actually coming up for our second birthday, so we were incorporated on the 21st. We founded ourselves on the 21st of September and incorporated on the 26th of September. But before we did that, we went and did an MVP with the Queensland government just to validate that maybe this technology might have some place in government. So I know it's almost like swearing to say blockchain and government in the same sentence, but back then 2 years ago, this was, no one was having these conversations. So, and we were using the blockchain, Bitcoin blockchain back then, and coloured coins. So it was really early days. But how did this blockchain technology find me? 3 years ago, I quit my executive job. I worked in government for 20 years, like a lot of people who are now working with blockchain. We actually have SME backgrounds before we actually get immersed in the tech. And there is some stuff in water utilities and also the not-for-profit sector. I am from Brisbane, but our company is incorporated in New South Wales. And we also have a bit of a presence here in Melbourne through our co-founder, Bradley Mayles, who used to be the CEO of Victorian Government. So this all basically started because I met Sam Lee in April 2016 in Brisbane. He came up to do a special corporate governance, and Lucas Cullen did a pop-up meetup, and I met Sam that night, and I met Lucas. Lucas Cullen is my co-founder. And it was Sam and another person called Leanne Kemp from Everledger, who also played a very important role, the reason why I got immersed in this technology. And now it's 2 years later, and we're a emerging fintech organisation in 2018, and we're working on some really interesting projects with government at the moment.
What's been your biggest challenge so far?
I think the biggest challenge is the tire kicking. I think we're actually at the point now where we're sick of it. I think we're at the point now where it's no longer saying, what is this technology and why should we care? I think it's the time has now arrived. It's about, well, just come on, let's just start doing something with this technology. That still is a very frustrating point, and we've just been at a conference today, which is amazing because there's enterprise in the room, but I still think that they think that this is just all going to go away, or it's just going to, but I'm just tired of tire kicking, very tired of it.
If you skip 12 months from now, what's your vision? What's it going to look like?
I hope that the vision is that obviously we're still around as a company. We are what we call a startup, and we are now emerging out of the valley of death, which is awesome. Which is, if anyone is a startup, that's one of the things that we go through. It's a valley of death. Just because you work in blockchain doesn't mean that you're immune to the concept of a startup. You've still got to make money, you've still got to actually get the next customer, and you've still got to attract investors. And that's all through having market fit and a good product. It doesn't matter because you have blockchain in your name. It doesn't matter, it's about the problem you're solving. I like to think that we have grown as a company, and we're working, I'd like to actually say that we're growing, we're still around, and working on some very good stuff. Oh, and probably going into much more alpha global infrastructure stuff. I think we're getting there, but we are having those conversations now, but I like to think that we're no longer doing MVPs. Please don't make us do MVPs in 12 months' time.
What's your, if you could learn a lesson from what you did 12 months ago to now, what's your biggest learning that you would want to share with someone starting out in this market?
Start now. I think don't wait anymore. I think, one of the things there's always a way with startups or when you're doing entrepreneur stuff is that don't wait for permission for someone to say it's okay to start doing something. But I think also 12 months ago, we almost shut down. We actually had that conversation and we said, you know what, we've given this a good shot. I think it's over. Even though we had customers and we had market validation. And the reason why is because we were still a startup, and we felt that we were too early. And we were sort of looking at signals across the market and say, you know what, I think we're just too early. We really need to shut up shop. And that's where we were 12 months ago. But tenacity and a little bit of strategy, and at that time we'd actually went through a competitive tender for the IP contract, IP Australia, through the Digital Transformation Agency Marketplace. And if we hadn't got that call, then I wouldn't be sitting here. That's what it is to be a startup, regardless of whether you're using emerging technology or whatever, because if the market's not ready for you, you can pretend that there it is or not, but that was where we were. I've never actually told anyone that, but yeah, we did. We were actually it's gonna have to go get a day job.
God forbid. What about for you personally? When did you decide that you wanted to be a woman in tech? What was that decision for you?
I didn't make that decision. The decision was made for me when I was 8 years old. It's just something I've always done. I'm a sociologist. I'm a humanities graduate that happened to study political theory. But all through my jobs and everything, when I started my career, I was always delving with technology to solve human problems. So I worked in government and I was looking at technology. I worked in flood management in Brisbane before the flood event, and I was always looking at how can the technology prepare our communities better in the event of a flood event, and we did, and that was just my world. So the tech had already been there, but I wasn't coding it. I was using it to solve problems. That I thought would make the user experience or somebody's experience a lot better about getting access to information to make a decision. And as a result, people's lives were saved because we were able to use this technology called Floodwise and all that sort of stuff. So it wasn't a decision, and it's always just been, so just, again, serendipity, right place, right time, solving the right problem with the right people.
What's some of the obstacles you've had to overcome in your career as a woman in technology?
I don't know if I've had to overcome anything because, and again, I'm just speaking on my personal experience. I'm not speaking on behalf of women. It's really important that I acknowledge that I'm not speaking for women because everyone has their own personal experience. But I guess I don't take shit. You know, I'm not going to sit in a room and say, woo! It's true. I mean, I'm not going to sit in a room and apologise because I actually happen to be of a gender. I'm here because this technology is saying, this is blue sky, there are no rules, this technology can solve some really wicked problems. And I just happen to be a person who saw the opportunity, grabbed it, worked with other people and made this happen. Yes, it is interesting when you are the only chick in the room and you're talking to people, but that's everywhere. But you just don't take shit, and you know why you're there, and you're there to work together. And the other thing too is that I don't think the community here actually sees this. We're all in here this together. We're all in here because we all see the opportunity with this technology, whether it be the VC or the crypto stuff, whatever. We're all here because we can see that the current systems are stupid, they're not working, and we're in here to actually use this technology to solve problems. So in this, we've got about 3,000 people in Brisbane that are all activated across the Bitcoin blockchain meetup, the Ethereum meetup, the Brisbane Women in Blockchain meetups, the crypto meetups, and we all just get in there together and not actually judge each other because of our genders. But yeah, I just don't take shit. That's just been my problem all through my life. I didn't finish school because I got thrown out of school. I got fired from so many jobs because I just don't take shit. And I was on a panel today and I always get asked that question, you know, and I'm not, it's time wasting. It is. It's like we don't have time to waste here. It's moving too fast. You're either here or you're not. If you're on, you're in. You're not, get off. Don't waste my time.
Excellent. Tell us about a journey with Ethereum, choosing that as a platform. How's that been? And given that there's different options now, would you do it again?
I don't want to build a freaking internet. I don't want to build an intranet that is locked down to certain people because somebody said that they can be there. Why would we want to do that? Why? I mean, but again, we work with Ethereum because Lucas has made his career, he's staked his career on it. And he wouldn't take that lightly because I know him so well. Obviously, we started with the Bitcoin blockchain because that's what we had back then. But we wanted to write smart contracts, we wanted to program stuff. But we do know that we still have to be agnostic depending on the problems we're solving. And once we start going into jurisdictions internationally and working with industry, that's when we've got to start thinking, okay, what are we designing here? What is the problem we're solving? What is the governance and that sort of stuff? But we know that Ethereum is a long way to go. Who knows? Who knows where we're going to be in 2 years' time? It's moving so fast.
So what's the biggest impact, do you think, of your company and your projects? How's it going to change the world?
Well, one of the things that I'm really passionate about is, and it's probably a segue to what was just before, is that we were very lucky well, not lucky because we worked hard for it, but we got to work on a really interesting project around water markets in this country. And water is one of the most precious commodities on the planet, which we all get because it's a finite asset. But we have a problem that we actually don't know the true value of water. We don't have full participation in the marketplace. So the Australian government put out a problem around water markets. It was a grant process, we went through it, we secured the grant, and we looked at how blockchain technology can improve transparency in water markets. Originally, the problem statement was different. This is why understanding the problem is always critical before you build stuff. So they believe that the problem around water in this country was lack of information. That's why problems with transparency. And we tested that hypothesis and we said, no, it's not the case at all. What the problem is that it's too hard to trade that asset. There's 15,000 business rules to trade water, there's about 80 water products across 4 different state governments with one regulator, and it's worth $16 billion. So for us, that was and it still is one of the dearest projects, one of the things I hold my heart to, because the world is going to need this technology to democratise this asset, to ensure that we have inclusiveness, because we know what's going to happen, because Syria went to war because of water. So this project, we delivered a feasibility study because it's basically the business case. And it's given us such world recognition because we're one of the only companies in the world that's actually looked at water and blockchain. So I get interviewed quite a lot about it, but the problem is that there hasn't been any agency in this country that's taken on this technology. So we're still dealing with legacy systems and registries that don't update or carry true representation of who's trading with who. The brokers are still making a shitload of money. Farmers are not participating in the market, and we don't know the true value of water. Hoping that that's going to change soon, because I have to go to Paris on Sunday and talk about it at the OECD. Yeah, so I've got to, because we are the only country that's actually looked at this tech all-owned company, I want to basically stand on a stage in France and Paris and say, this is why this is so important, and this is why this technology is so important, and hopefully pick up a country that might say, let's go do that.
Brilliant. Last question, and then I'll open up to the audience. So, women in blockchain, you've been a big champion for it. Why?
Why not? No, I guess I got tired of, when I was at Consensus last year, whoever was at Consensus last year in New York, it started the bloody thing with dancing girls. Jesus Christ, we paid $6,000 to be at that place. And the first thing that we got confronted with was fucking dancing girls. Anyone in this room, if you're going to do a conference, any of you think about bringing on dancing girls, pole dancers, because you think it's great, get out now, because I am so pissed with anyone who thinks that that's okay. It's not okay. Be respectful. We're here. We're collaborating. Don't tell me because I'm a female that I can only see the first time of my gender on a stage dancing. with nothing on and think that that's okay because it's cool. Don't do that. Let other industries do that, not this industry. I'm too proud of it. So we actually had a lunch, interesting enough, Accenture put on the Women in Blockchain lunch, and we had 2 days of it. It was hilarious. We had more men in that room because we had better food. But the women we got trolled at that conference. This is consensus. We got trolled, we got harassed, we were sexually harassed, we were told we were not supposed to be there. The only women who were, the women on the booths were booth babes, so they actually didn't even all the stuff was going live on the screen. Essentially didn't know what to do. We bashed out so much stuff about what was going on at that conference that they did not know where to look. Amber Badley got trolled. She had a dude come up to her and told her that she had a problem. She needed to shut up and listen to men. Amber Badley. It's like, and everyone thinks that was okay. So I left that lunch and I went to the first ever, my experience was the Women in Blockchain meetup, which is done by Thirsty Moran from Consensus with Y. And I sat in a room with about 60 amazing women and men, and we talked about the reason, we had a strategic discussion around this technology. We had 2 women from LO3 giving us a discussion around the microgrids at Brooklyn. It was one of the most interesting conversations because women were there and men were there and asking the question about the ethics, the governance. Why should we care? Where is this technology going? Tell me more, I'm really interested. What is this from my end user experience? This is going to change my life? I couldn't get those conversations elsewhere. So I came back to Australia and I connected in with Tess. We went out for dinner. Again, another Leanne Kemp moment, just telling me to get on and do something. And I got back to Brisbane and I kind of went, okay, I'm just going to do this. So I set the meetup, and my first meetup was, I had to talk about myself, which I found really funny, but I had 20 women in the room, all my friends, and I just did it. And I just felt that I wanted to have a conversation back then, because it was over a year ago. I wanted to have more of a conversation that wasn't under the hood. I wanted to inspire people to come and listen about this technology because I wanted to create marketplaces. I wanted to have people in the room who came from different industries to ask the question, why should we care about this technology? Go back to their workplaces and start asking, why aren't we looking at this technology? Because I've got a whole bunch of people, really smart people in Brisbane who are startups, and they need marketplaces. They need people to buy the MVPs and buy the proof of concepts so they can actually scale as startups, because we have a developer problem in this country. We need to build more developers, we need to get more people involved in the tech, and the only way you can do that is by doing. But you need people in the marketplace to buy. So I thought, well, if I bring people into a conversation and interview women who actually have built the technology, like Emma Weston and Leanne Kemp, and Dr. Lisa Cameron from Data 61, blah, 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 then we might start to see the emergence of marketplaces. And that was my motivation. And it's just gone from there. So it's not about the gender, it's about creating marketplaces so startups have a place to start.
Great initiative. Any questions from the audience? For Katrina? There you go.
Hi Katrina, unfortunately I've got 3 questions for you. The first one's regarding culture of failure in Australia. We know that the innovation department set up by Turnbull has been demolished, has been gotten rid of. So do we have a culture problem with failure in this country? Second thing is, you talked about water. My understanding of water is it's always been misinterpreted as a commodity, whereas on the actual water itself, because water itself is a renewable product. So maybe part of the problem is that it should be considered more as energy as opposed to water. And third thing, probably, got 2 girls in high school. Any advice for them?
3 questions. Do we have a problem with failure in this country? Oh, absolutely. But I think that's... Okay.
John.
Of course we have it. Yeah, I think we do, but but I think, but I guess.
Bring out the dancers.
Yeah, bring out the dancing girls. Bring out the dancing girls. Bring them out. Bring them out. And and when you move to a new place, do not have a pink door, please. Do not have a pink door. That's one of the things that bugbears me about this place, having a pink door. I don't have to be reminded that, anyway.
You always use the names.
No, it's so smelly. That's the funny thing about the consensus. You always have the lineups at the men's toilets, and there's no lineups at the women's toilets. Cracks me up every time. Failure, yes, we do. But I mean, to flip it over, if we take into the context of building software stuff, we use Agile anyway, so we're failing very quickly. But second question was innovation. Yes, scares the bejesus out of me that as a country that is supposed to say that we're about, incredibly smart, blah, 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 that we have lost the nerve to the Conservatives and dropped that word. But we're working with the Digital Transformation Agency, and I wonder if they're actually going to be here by the end of the week, which is really sad. Really sad, because they actually got the mandate to look at blockchain technology in government, which we're working with them on that, which we're very excited about. How do the daughters get involved? Start a meetup in school, in the community. We had Evie Mullins from the Melbourne Girls Grammar with us this afternoon. Everyone thought she was my daughter. I'm like, no, she's a colleague. She's 18, she's incredible. So just get curious. All this stuff is online, it's free. Just join a meetup, come here, and just be curious.
Anyone else? Right.
The water data market.
The water
Data
market.
What do you mean?
What do I mean by a market for water? Data.
Because you said the water needs to be traded. If it's blockchain, then it's a data market.
Yes. I guess from the point of view of when you're starting the story or the journey in government, it's very important that you take a very slow step change. Moving them from a regulator to a facilitator of new marketplaces is a very big thing. And then as they get comfortable with the concept, then obviously they start to realise the innovation that comes because the data is now secure or federated, as we say. Interesting enough, IP Australia are realising that now from a very interesting way, and their heads are going crazy. It's so exciting. But they do see it as exactly that. They want the data to be accessible globally without barriers, without intermediaries in the way. So yes, definitely. With the water, yes. So how that story ended, so the Australian government issued the next stage of funding to a company in Melbourne called Marsden Jacobs, and they decided to stick with the hypothesis, the original one, around water information. So they're actually aggregating water information. The markets, they're actually just sticking with the original hypothesis and are just creating aggregation of water data to feed into a different platform for the farmers to access. Well, the information is important, but it's just a pull in. It should still be a peer-to-peer marketplace. I think we'll get there. I think South Australia is going to be the first place to do it because they've got nothing to lose now. Next Enterprise not there, Mongolia there, and Bunnaby Joyce is no longer, I guess, in the mix. But I think South Australia, because they're actually now very advanced blockchain technology. One of our friends, Loretta Joseph, has been working very closely with the South Australian government on blockchain technology. So hopefully we might see something happen in South Australia, I hope.
I've got one question for you, but first I'd like to start off by thanking you for your general direction in emphasising that it's more important to recognise the accomplishments of people that work in blockchain technology rather than their gender. I think that's a really good direction to be going for. My question is, do you think that there's a role to play for decentralized exchanges in providing more liquidity and information and price discovery to the water market?
Yes.
Could you elaborate on how that could be implemented?
Well, I think, again, I guess this is the interesting thing about this technology working with government is that we talk about, yes, definitely a decentralized marketplace, but what does that mean in the context of government-issued assets? We know that government are one of the most centralised organisations in anything we can imagine. And so when we think about how does blockchain work in this space, how we look at it is that we have to give ourselves permission to look at it in a different way. The concept of trust is what we call imperfect trust. We are very fortunate in this country. I know we don't trust our politicians, I know that. But we do trust the government in the terms of delivering the services that we... Sometimes, but we're better off in many emerging democracies and emerging countries, like which I'm going to mention on the list. But we're very fortunate in this country. So how we have to work with government is that we look at the way data touches the sides and how it needs to be picked up by another organisation for the next tranche of the transaction. It's different. So we don't talk about, when we talk about the benefits of blockchain technology in government, it's not about trust. It is about an imperfect trust, yes, but it's more about efficiencies in the transaction, reducing cost to serve, reducing the time to contract. There will be probably two types of marketplaces that will emerge, which we're seeing with IP Australia that we're working on right now. Is that you'll have your sort of one that is the one that the government is working inside through whether they've got products in the marketplace. But the opportunity will be other markets that will evolve through industry or innovation. And they will pull the data from the registries to allow that to happen. So you won't have one monolithic marketplace, so to speak. You'll have many.
Would having a split in the marketplaces reduce the liquidity and, for example, the price of water if it were to be represented with a blockchain asset?
Well, that's the thing, is about, as you say, with price discovery. So, again, it's about what is the market. So, how we build out the application, again, it's about discoverability through variable, so the prices can be set by the farmer. And so okay, because it's not just about the actual water itself, they've actually got to determine energy consumption associated with the actual travel of the water. They've got to determine the time frame to which they want the water to be delivered. There's carbon issues that have to be incorporated into the actual transaction itself. It's very complex. But yeah, there's probably have a conversation offline about this.
We might have to do that,
yeah.
Hi, just want to ask a question about the tokenization of IP rights and how you overcame that. I just want to know, did you hash the IP patent or did you just put the patent number onto the hash, or how did you overcome that?
Okay, with the patent stuff, we're actually still moving through that. So we've delivered the MVP, which was, we took what they were interested in. First of all, really great news about this project is that IP Australia are probably one of the most, and I can say the word innovative because it hasn't been taken out of my vocabulary. They're really innovative. If we look at the Australian government agency, right now the most innovative is IP Australia. So their curiosity around blockchain technology is they wanted to know, could we look at smart contracts to move the asset through its state of change? So IP right. So what we did is we, again, agile, same stuff, nothing different, constructed user stories that went through the entire life cycle of that asset from the moment that it was actually lodged to when it was requested for assessing, to the point of granting, opposition, and taking through. Mind you, that takes 14 years, thereabout. So we actually took that through the smart contracts. It was really exciting. And I know it sounds really nerdy watching smart contracts compile across the Etherscan, but it's really exciting to watch. It's so exciting. And they were losing themselves in Canberra. It was so exciting watching them actually lose it. It was so cool. So what we did was that they gave us a CSV file of 70,000 patent records that were open data, and they allowed us to push that through Etherscan. So we went and got some Rigby coins, and we actually wanted to see how fast we could transact those rights, or those transactions through Ether, through a testnet, mind you. We ran out of Rigby coins, but we actually pushed through 50,830 records in less than 40 minutes for around about 50,000 as equivalent in fiat. That blew their mind because they transact about 30,000 records a year. And the cost of that is insane because they have to reconcile the data because there's no data structure. Because they get the data in all different forms, PDFs and blah, blah. So that was great for news because by allowing us to do that process with them, this is how we work with government too. This is probably pretty stock standard for blockchain companies when we're working with clients and customers. Is that the first thing you need to do is you need to give them something that enables them to have a conversation internally to get confidence from the decision makers. By putting patents through a process on Ethereum using smart contracts and then showing them happen in real time, gave them the confidence that this was going to be okay, that this technology is actually solving some important problems. And that led to the next stage, which was enabling us. What happens is, when we got to the end of the MVP, the patent right, the state of change went from applicant to IP right owner, state of change. So they actually were able to grant or claim their right. And then IP Australia wanted to know, well, okay, what can they do with that right? Because we want them to go and monetize that right. So they actually asked us to create some marketplaces, which we did. Very exciting, because why that is important is because you've got decision makers who want to be able to be convinced because it is about reducing the risk, well, it's about reducing risk for them. And we were excited because we were able to work on a problem that actually has global applications. And Australia went to WIPO, so that's the World Intellectual Property Organisation, and said, we would like to get permission from you to run this type of project, but on a global scale. This is very cool. This is what Australia does. A lot of people don't know what Australia does around this technology, but we're leading on so many different levels. And this is where we're heading. And so it's still very early days and everything, but I guess what we're hoping to see is no more MVPs, no proof of concepts, but now let's go build some stuff. And that's when it starts to get a bit different. Good stuff.
Yeah, last question.
Hi, sorry, I jumped the queue.
I'll ask later.
May?
Yeah, go.
So, thanks for sharing your almost failure, because I think that's one of the recipes to overcome the fear of it. Everyone's there, everyone has failures in life. Everyone's in a startup world knows that they can change or break it. So, any maybe lessons you can, or strategy you can share coming out of that, because 12 months, it can be a very long and short time, but now you're working with governments, you have funding, you have investors, you want to actually, get out of MVP stage while a lot of startups are still in there. Anything that particularly worked? Was it someone truly buying your vision? Was it something that was, you mentioned the change of strategy, something that was, in hindsight, done wrong that you would learn now and can advise the companies that are in this stage, startups looking to get buy-in, still in MVPs, looking to have MVPs. So anything you can share that would help other companies?
There's a lot of layers to that. If I was to be really honest, sounds hilarious, but one of the things that set us apart and made people notice us, and this is what IP Australia did, we weren't focused on our, we were focused on our civic leisure per se. Yes, there's, I've worked really bloody hard, but what was equally important was being part of a community. When you work in this space, this is the community. And we actually were more than, well, I am more than civic leisure. I'm more than what I am. I'm part of this community. I do a lot of mentoring. I do a lot of this. It's very exhausting. But what happened was that when IP Australia were assessing who was going to win this contract, they were able to see that we weren't more than, we just weren't sales. We actually were committed to the potential of this technology. I don't know if I'm making any much sense, but the other thing too is we didn't hide behind sales and marketing crap, which was one of the feedbacks that we did get back from IP Australia. They said you've got to up the polish a bit. But be pin focused on your strategy. Be clear who you are as a company. Don't get persuaded. If someone comes along to you and says, hey, can you go build something that's outside your remit? Think very clearly about it. Even though the money will be really cool because you need it, if that's not in your core business, don't do it, because it'll distract you from what you actually need to be working on. Be clear on your authenticity, be clear on your message. We had to, for the first 12 months, I remember, because I've had to, this bootstrapping, my guys, you have no idea. It looks really glamorous on the outside, but my God, no, it's a shitload of work on the inside. I had to build that website. I don't know what the hell I was doing, and I still don't know. But I have to keep on working stuff because we weren't able to afford people to do stuff for us. You got our website, it's still shit, I know that. But I know it's just got the basics on it, and it needs to be a bit more slicker and everything like that, but that's not my focus. I wanted to know what business are we in, and we had to spend 12 months working that out by looking at use cases. And then we got to know how to be very clear, how to be pin focused, how to be seen as the blockchain company in this country that is working on civic applications. And look at different opportunities. Don't think about collaboration, think about partnerships, things like that. But and also I think it's about having the right team together. Don't have a team full of devs. We love the devs, but they don't like talking to people. And that's fine, because they don't want to, but if having a VC, a venture capitalist in our company, is also a great benefit. I thoroughly recommend that. If you have someone, even if they're just an advisor, partner with someone right from get-go. Really do that. And make sure you got some grey hairs, some wise heads in the team. Because when you do get to that point where you have to say, you need those wise heads around you. But there's a whole lot of other stuff, but tenacity, being crazy, believing in yourself.
Thank you, Katrina. We are so privileged to have Katrina. Put your hands together. So thank you for flying out the time tomorrow.
In Sydney at 9 o'clock tomorrow, so at 6:30. We're actually working with Standards Australia around the standard stuff, and oh my God,
get Miss Jan, Mrs. Bitcoin, because I can't just give you Mrs.
No, it's funny. This is like full circle for me, because this is what Sam. We have got my very first photo of Sam Lee and Lucas Cullen with one of these on my Twitter. You can see right back in time, Sam Lee, Lucas, and I with one of these in Brisbane. So this is very cool.
Thank you very much. Stick around. Have a drink.